Guys, I've been a real estate investor since 2006, and I've been an entrepreneur since ninth grade in high school. I've never borrowed money from a stinky banker, never had a resume, only used creativity and imagination. Today's session is, when should you give up on your goals and dreams? This is a very tough question to answer, and it's not financial advice. I just want to share with you some of the difficulties that I've gone through when I started my business. Okay, I remember graduating college. All my friends were running out there and getting, $50,000 job, $70,000 job. I myself got an offer from Mr. Jen's Pizza franchise that had like 76 locations. They offered me like 75 to $100,000 if I would work with them. While I was working on my own business, okay, right out of college, I was living in my car, okay, like literally living in my car, and I was offered 75 to $100,000 to work for Mr. Jen's because I had created a online ordering system back in the dial-up age when the internet was dial-up. You would have to go to the mall and get a floppy disk, and then there was only Net Zero and AOL were the ISP providers at that time. So let me share with you some of the thought process that I've gone through. I remember living in my car, and everyone had a job, right? And I was offered a really nice paying job, but everyone was telling me I was crazy for trying to be my dreams. Everyone said you were crazy trying to start a business. I didn't have any credit. I only had $100, and I only had my Jeep. I didn't have any connections. I didn't know anyone in a sense to help me with the business. I didn't know anyone that was doing the business. But I knew in my heart of hearts that I was going to win regardless if I don't give up. Like literally, there was no one who could tell me you're not going to win. I knew that I was going to win. So I'm living in my car. All my friends have good paying jobs, and I'm like literally struggling. Like, on Fridays and Saturdays, I don't tell anyone that I'm living in my car. My friends think, I'm living at home, okay? But on Fridays and Saturdays, when my friends would go out to the bar, or they would go hang out and play video games, or they would go hang out with their friends, or they would go on dates, what I would do is I would go to the nearest apartment complex, and I would use their printing office center to print out flyers. What I'd do is I get a 8 by 11 page, and I would create pretty much like 6 business cards going that way, 2 or 3 going this way. I can't remember exactly. And then I would chop it up until one page would give me roughly 12 flyers, right? And on the weekends, when everyone was having fun, what I would do is I would take these little flyers and I would go and put it into the apartment complex's mailboxes. I would go to all the high-end apartment complexes and put out my flyers, and then guess what? People will call me, and then I would book a personal training session with them, charging them, a handsome amount of money, like $65, $75 an hour, and they would have to pay me like 12 sessions, 24 sessions, etc. Okay, so I was working that dream, but I knew that this was not what I wanted to do because I had read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. Thanks to my buddy at the gym, he knew I was going through a struggle, and he said, "Man, Mike, you need this book." So at that time, I was doing personal training called Fitness to Go. I would go to people's homes, or I would go to people's office buildings, and I would train them on site. Again, this is in the early 90s when dollar was not even there. There was no one doing that kind of stuff, right? So not only was I creating a personal training business, I was also go to people's homes, but all my leads were coming from online. People could book online. Again, this is the early 90s. No personal trainer that I knew even had a website. Not only did I have a website, I was also have a booking system where people can book online and pay. So anyways, I listened to that book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I realized that, hey, the cash flow quadrant, being a personal trainer is in the S quadrant, okay? And I also realized that, different businesses are like different sizes of boats. The bigger your boat, the more passengers you can carry. And that hence means the more money you can make. Some boats you can only carry 4 or 5 people. Some boats you can carry hundreds of thousands of people. And I realized that being a personal trainer, even though the money was good, I'm not going to become ultra rich. I'm not going to become my dreams because I'm the one that has to work the hamster wheel. If I'm not working, then guess what? I'm not making money. So I did try to, create a business system where I had, other personal trainers, massage therapists, and kickboxers working for me. But I really realized that I was having one major problem. Once my clients met with these personal trainers, and after like 6 months or 3 months, that personal trainer could steal my customer and take him away, and there was not much I can do. And I realized that, man, this is not a real good business system, because the relationship is between the personal trainer and the client versus me, the company, and the client. So what I did is I shifted from having a personal training company, thanks to my cousin. He had me go to Houston. He had started his moving company, and I worked for them for like 2 or 3 months, totally for free, helping him his business out. And when I came back home, I had created a website where people could go online and get free moving quotes. Okay, again, this is in the early internet stage. So it was, Yahoo was king, not Google. And I was getting just like leads all over America from the most richest, affluent people. These people were using the internet. They were super smart. They were super advanced. They make a lot of money. They were using the internet when no one else was even have a computer, a personal computer at their home, or internet access. So I reached out to my cousin. I said, man, we can have a moving company in all 50 states. I am generating leads every state, bro. Here, I'm generating like 12 leads in Texas a day. I'm generating this many in this. I'm generating this many in this. And anyways, him and his partners didn't want to go in business together. So I said, okay, no problem. So I didn't, at that time, I was still living in my car. I was trying to make things happen. I was generating tremendous amount of leads. People wanted to move. So one day I said, you know what, let me pick up the phone and see what happens. I didn't know how to give quotes. I didn't know how to, structure the move. I didn't have no moving equipment. I had no experience at all, zero zitch. I talked to the client, and they had this humongous house, and they wanted to move. So I just said, hey, we'll move you for $1,300. I can't remember, like somewhere like $1,500, somewhere around there, which seemed like tremendous amount of money for me at that time for one job. And the lady was like, yeah, we'll do it. I said, okay, well, let's schedule your appointment and we'll be there. And then so what happened is I didn't have any equipment. I didn't have any skills. I immediately started calling moving companies at the blues when I was, on the yellow pages or when I was driving by. And I met this one mover. His name was Glenn. And I think he had like 3 or 4 trucks. I said, Glenn, I have this many leads that are coming in. I have a customer that's ready to go ahead and do a $1,200-$1,500 move. Do you want to do this deal? And we'll split it 40-60. He said, man, hell yeah, I'm down with it. I said, I'll give you 60, I'll keep 40. So anyways, we did this one move, and boy, I got paid significant amount of money. Again, I was right out of college, just starting my business. It seemed like a tremendous amount of money for me. So after that was the turning point. I said, you know what, I need to go start renting my own trucks, because there's so much money to be made in the moving business that it just blew away personal training. Because let's say in personal training, I sell someone a 12 session and I'll make $1,200. Well, it might be 1 month worth of work, 2 months worth of work. Here, I just did one move for one day with one truck, and I made $1,200-$1,500. And I thought to myself, being a personal trainer is pretty stupid when I could do like 10 moves a day and make 10 times more money as personal training. So I immediately cut off that business and focused on, starting my moving company. So I created a website. I started working with this guy, Glenn. And, like 1 or 2 months went by, and I realized that, I don't want to have a independent contractor like Glenn doing my moves, because he didn't have real honor, respect. He was always running late to my clients' moves. He wasn't doing a great job. And I realized that I am the front man of this company. People are coming to me, and so when something goes wrong, they're bitching at me, right? And I realized that I want to provide great service. So immediately I started renting my own trucks, okay, to start doing moves. All right. And, for the first 3 or 4 months, I was doing the moves myself every day, like 7 days a week. I would get up super early, like 4:30 in the morning. Our first job was at 6. Sometimes I wouldn't come home to 2 in the morning, dude. Like every day, 3 months straight, I was able to stack some cheese. Okay. And then I started because I wouldn't make that much money renting the equipment, okay? Like literally very, very small amount of money. After I paid my crew, after I paid the rental trucks, after I paid for the gas, insurance, shrink wrap, bubble wrap, all that good stuff, because I was providing people with free boxes, shrink wrap, all the stuff that other moving companies weren't doing. And I was like literally growing really fast. And I realized that I don't make that much money because I'm renting my equipment. And once I bought my own equipment, well then boom, business like literally exploded. I went from having just a location in Dallas to going to Austin, to going to Houston, to going to Fort Worth. I'd had 4 locations in hyper speed, dude. Like I remember going to an attorney for them to draw up our moving contract, and the guy said, "I've never seen anyone succeed as fast as you have." And I said, "Thank the guy upstairs." Like literally, I became a millionaire overnight because there was 4 locations I had, and each one was doing multiple moves a day, multiple trucks, and then like literally like a life-changing situation. So going back to the story, when should you give up? Okay, I can't answer that for you. Okay, but I know for me, there's been a lot of times that I thought I was freaking crazy. Right, my mom was telling me I was crazy. My dad was telling me I was crazy. My best friend was telling me I was crazy. I remember going to Small Business Association, and they had some coaches, and they were telling me I was crazy. I'm trying to start a business with no money, living in my car, and everyone's telling me I was crazy. I remember living in my car, and it was freaking cold, right? And I was crying myself to sleep, thinking to myself, am I crazy? Do I need to go to the nut house, right? Because I'm trying to start this business with no experience, with no education, no background in moving, don't know how to structure the deals, don't know how to give quotes, don't know how to find the movers, don't know how to move the items, don't have equipment. And I kept thinking to myself, am I fucking crazy? But boom, a few months later, life had literally changed for me, where I can now give my brother $100,000. Now I can buy my sister a fucking rental property. Now I can lend money to a bunch of friends and family. Okay, now I can give thousands of dollars for Christmas gifts, and like literally life changed. I went from just like living in my Jeep to having 6 cars, 6 motorcycles, 3 ATVs, like a lot of rental properties, multiple businesses. And the most craziest thing was that I thought I was fucking crazy. And if I would listen to my family, if I listened to my friends, bro, I would never, ever, ever been able to make this money, right? Let me tell you another story. Business was good. I was into it for 6 or 7 years in my moving company, and we're now moving thousands of people a month, right? And I realized that the real estate market is shifting. It was 2006 fourth quarter. I literally remember we were doing moves. We were moving people to these big old homes, and they could not afford to pay $1,000. And I thought to myself, how are you buying a home, and you're putting in a down payment, you're doing all this stuff, but you don't even have $1,000 to pay for your move? And this wasn't just the only time. It was happening over and over and over, okay? This is when I knew that the real estate market is about to crash. And no one was even talking about it. It was 2006, fourth quarter. Guess what? A year and a half later, 2 years later, in Dallas, Texas, the market had crashed significantly. I remember in Frisco, okay, where my uncle lived. He had bought a house for $150,000. His neighbor right next to him was losing his house in the crash, and I called him up because his neighbor had called me. He didn't know we were uncles and family, right? And the guy was trying to sell his house for $70,000 in a short sell, and I was going to buy it, but I didn't want to have a property so far away because all my properties were in Grand Prairie. And I remember calling my uncle and saying, "Hey, buddy, you paid $150,000 for your house. The house 2 houses from you, the guy's ready to sell it for $70,000, short sell, and I can do this deal if you want to manage it." And he said, "No, I don't want to. The market's going down. It's going to hell." I said, "Okay, no problem." I said, "Are you sure, bro? Because this is like 50% discount. You paid $150 for yours. It's only been like 2 years that you lived in this property, and now this property right next to you is like 50% off." I said, "This is a hell of a good deal, dude. We could short sell it. We can just step into their shoes and just take over their monthly payments, and you could just manage it, man. You can have this property for your kids or something." He was like, "No, I'm busy. I work for a big company. I make good money." I said, "Okay, no problem." So I didn't do that deal. What happened is, a few years later, when the market came up, like even today, those houses today are worth $450,000, dude. Okay. So why am I telling you this story? Well, in 2006 fourth quarter, once again, I thought I was crazy because everyone and their mama was telling me, "Oh man, you don't know anything about real estate, brother. You're a refugee to America." I would call up the bankers. I would call up the real estate agents, and I said, "Look, I have this much cash. I can buy like a couple of houses for cash. But what I want to do is do seller financing, right? So I can stretch out my cash and get a lot of properties." Every agent that I called, they were like, "No, this is not going to work. You're not going to be able to find these properties at a deep discount. No one's going to do seller financing. No one's going to do this kind of stuff," right? And I would call attorney after attorney, and I said, "Look, I'm trying to buy these houses with seller financing. If they have mortgages, can I take over their mortgages? If they don't, can you structure the deal for me? How would it work?" And literally, attorney after attorney were like, "Oh, you can't take over people's mortgages. There's due on sell clause and blah, blah, blah." So finally, I went to one REI club and I met this attorney, right? He was highly decorated. All he did was real estate investing, and he had a black belt. He owned rental properties, and more importantly, he was board certified in seller financing. Right. When I met him, he like literally took me underneath his wings, and he's like, Mike, you can do this. This is how you got to structure it. Bring me the deals. Don't worry about it. You get the deals, and I'll help you structure it. And sure enough, my guy, this guy was in Houston. I was in Dallas, and we were doing deals, and I was sending them waves of customers, right? And he liked me so much that he even used one of my reviews that I left for him because he liked me, right? And that's when I realized that no, I'm not crazy. I'm not nuts. The other people around me are crazy. Like family members that didn't want to buy a property at 50% off, they were crazy. Family members that I told them, hey, you can buy this deal subject to, just take over the sellers, they were crazy. People that told me, no, it's not going to work, buddy, they were crazy. Because before you know it, when the dust cleared, I had many rental properties, and I bought every single one with seller financing. Well, there was a couple that I bought with cash only, but they were like at a deep discount, more than 50%. So what I realized is that if you want to follow your dreams, if you want to be your dreams, you have to be fucking crazy, dude. You want to be an entrepreneur, you got to be loco. Everyone has a job. Everyone says, go to high school, go to college, and get a fucking job. Somebody. So the point of the story is, man, you got to be crazy if you want to be your dreams, right? You got to literally be nuts, because that's what it is, man. If you live in America, you literally have to be nuts to follow your heart, dude. You literally have to be nuts to be your dreams. Everyone's going to tell you you're crazy. The banker's going to tell you you're crazy. The real estate agent's going to tell you you're crazy. Your mom and papa will tell you you're crazy. Your friends will tell you they're crazy. It's because they only know one thing, right? And so if you want to do something different, they're going to say, oh, bro, it's risky. Oh, it's crazy. Let me tell you, bro, everything in life is risky. Having a job is risky, right? Someone that has a degree in sports medicine that can tell you that the amount of people that choke on their own food when they're eating is risky. That's why they have a maneuver for that, right? And you learn that in first aid class, right? So everything is risky, dude. Having a job is risky. Eating your dinner is risky. Going on a date is risky. Following your heart is risky. So everything is risky. You can drive down the street and get run over by a car tomorrow. Everything is risky, okay? Now the question is, are you willing to take the risk? Are you willing to change? Because the hardest part, okay, and I'm being honest with you, you gotta fucking change. You literally have to change. I remember when I started my moving company, I didn't know how to talk to people online. I didn't know how to talk to people on the phone. I didn't know how to give quotes. I didn't know how to move people, but I had to change. I had to learn how to move people. I had to learn how to give quotes. I had to learn how to understand truck maintenance and truck equipment and all this stuff, right? I literally had to change. When I got into real estate investing, once again, dude, I didn't know how to talk to sellers. I didn't know how to structure the deals. I didn't know how to find the deals. I didn't know any of this stuff. So the hardest part of being your dream is your ability to change. If you can't change, well, you better having a job, because the cool thing with a job is there's very little amount of change that's required. But if you want to follow your heart, dude, change is the most important thing in your business. You literally have to change every year. Technology is changing. The way you do business is changing. Your competitors are changing. You have to change. If you're one of those guys that likes to do one thing the same way over and over, then being an entrepreneur is not for you. An entrepreneur is someone that's willing to change on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Tackle your biggest fear. And here's the thing, talking about fear. The fear is one of the most important indicators or important signal for you. Whatever you fear, there's going to be a gold pot underneath that, okay? And most of us, when the fear comes this way, we like to go the other way, dude. We're trying to run away from it. But if your fear is this way, if you go attack it, you're going to learn so much. So trust me, people are going to tell you you're crazy. You may even think you're crazy. I thought I was fucking crazy, dude. I thought I was local. I need to go into a mental hospital because I thought, how the hell am I going to start a business? Well, that's what people were telling me. How are you going to start a business with no money, with no experience, with no education, with no equipment? You don't even know how to give quotes. You don't know how to buy houses. You don't know how to repair them. You don't have a crew. You don't know this. You don't know this. And that is true. I didn't know any of that stuff. But the thing that I did know is my ability to change, right? My ability to tackle my fears. So my point of the story is, when should you quit on your dreams? I can't answer that for you. You got to listen to your heart. But I can tell you this. Wherever your fear is, there's treasure there. Let me say that again. Wherever your fucking fear is, there's treasure there. And don't run away from it. Attack. 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 And don't take no for an answer, guys. I hope that answers your question. Trust me. When I started my first business, when I started my second business, when I started my third business, I always had fears and I always thought I was fucking loco and crazy because everyone else told me I was. But thank God I didn't let it go into my heart, because part of being your dreams is you have to take risks. If you're not willing to take risks, then you're better off getting a job, dude. Anyways, guys, don't take no for an answer, and always remember, you're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, smarter than you think, and twice as beautiful as you ever imagined. Romy. Peace, guys.